Hello, I'm Jim Cassetto, local history librarian here at the Pearl River Public Library, and we're conducting interviews because this year in 2023 we being the Pearl River Public Library, will be at its Franklin Avenue location since 1963. So that makes it 60 years. And as part of the celebration, we want to know about our patrons' lives years ago in Pearl River and their experiences with the library. So today I have Cecil Ablondi and Gail Fisher.
Dale, with a D, like Dale Evans.
Dale, Dale Fisher, and we're going to. I'm going to interview them and get their points of view on the town and the library over the past years that we've all been living here and enjoying both the town and the library. Cecile,
yeah.
I'm going to ask you when did you come to Pearl River?
Well, I was born here.
You were born here. Very good.
Yeah, I was born 1949 in Suffern, Good Samaritan.
Oh, in Good Samaritan Hospital. Excellent.
So I've been here 73 years.
Wow, that's great. I've been here 54, so that doesn't end. I was quite young when I came. Dale?
I've been here since 1953. My father owned the funeral home.
Right.
We moved from Nanuet, from the Nanuet Dairy, to here, and the funeral home is still in operation. But I wanted to tell you that my picture is in your book, I think, of the library of my friend Michelle and I at the old library.
At the card catalog?
Checking it out at the librarians
on
Ridge Street.
That's great. I wish I had known that earlier when I wrote the book back in 2014. You guys as children would have gone to the Ridge Street Library. Yeah. And prior to that, it was in the high school, in the Central Avenue High School in the 30s when they first organized the library here. So, what was your earliest memory of living here in town?
I remember the baseball field at, where Vision's parking lot is?
Yes.
That's where the Little League was. I
right.
remember that parking lot was Little League.
That's right.
What do you?
I remember going to Timmerman's on Central Avenue, and they had sawdust on the floor. And I just loved going into town. We had the place where there's a nail place. It was a toy store, and to go past there and see, that was Christmas. It was
auction outlet.
Oh yeah, auction outlet.
Right.
Fields Jewelry on the corner.
Fields Jewelry.
Martha Knight down the.
Yes.
Fountains, Five and Dime.
And everything was ruled by the fire whistle. If it blew in the winter, you knew you had no school, and it would blow in the morning, and then Dexter's used to blow at 5 o'clock, and we would wait for our neighbor's father to come home when it blew. So it just was a nice town. Everybody knew your parents, right?
Yes. The same things you're talking about. I lived in the 70s. Same thing. 7 o'clock whistle. We ate late, so at 7 o'clock, my father got home, and when that whistle went off, we ran home from wherever we were playing in the downtown area. I remember that Ed Fritz and Homer Edsel had a butcher shop, and I remember on the floor. We used to love to walk on the sawdust.
Main Street.
They were on Central Avenue.
Yes, where the Fordham Pizza is, Russo's.
Yeah,
that's where it was.
Okay.
Or a little up further. I think where the Chinese restaurant is.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember Homer making deliveries on a bicycle.
Wow.
And he would come down William Street, and there's a man on a bicycle. That was such a shock to us as kids.
Well, we graduated in 1967, and for us, the main focus was Umlands. It was, soon as you're out of school, everybody went down to Umlands. We all had flavored Cokes with pound cake with ice cream on it. And on Saturday, if you had a date that night, you wore rollers, right? Everybody knew you had a date if you came in with rollers in your hair. And I worked there for 2 summers, and it just,
You must remember Umlands, right?
Sure, Charlie
Yeah.
Umland.
Yeah.
I remember
They-
him.
his
I
wife
remembered him
made
when
great-
he retired and
Yep.
went to Arizona.
his wife made the best potato salad, and it's on Facebook, the recipe. Sid Smith,
Oh, is it?
I think, posted it. So, but it was a wonderful town. We had we moved from the old high school up to the new high school when we were in 8th grade. So-
1963 or 4,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And on Tuesdays we had release time, so the Catholics got on buses at 2:00, and they went to St. Margaret's, and the Lutherans got on buses, and we went to Good Shepherd.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's something you're never going to see nowadays.
No.
But-
we were allowed to go home for lunch. when we were in
Yes,
Franklin.
yeah,
We
yeah.
were
Oh.
allowed to go home for lunch. We'd walk home
As
and then come back to school.
elementary school, we were walking by ourselves, but then we also had the Cold War, so we had go home drills in case the Russians bombed us.
Oh, okay.
I got the fastest because I lived exactly across the street from the school. But
Right.
and we had go under your desk
Go under
for
the
the
I
desk.
remember that. I think I was the last generation to go under the desk. After that, they started to march us into the block room where there was an incinerator. And we would sit and talk, and they would say, keep quiet, keep quiet.
Which school was this?
And really, Franklin
In
Avenue.
Franklin?
Oh.
Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. This was, I would say, in just after 60, let me say, 69, 70, somewhere in there.
Okay.
We were still under the desk, and a little after, then they stopped them altogether. Because I think the size of a warhead
we
was so
realized-
big it didn't matter
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you did.
And another
Yes.
thing is, we had CYO dances, and weren't they great? They were fantastic because number one, you could smoke there.
Oh, that was a plus.
And you always met other kids who went to Catholic schools in the area.
Mhm.
So it kind of like increased your geographic area.
Right, your universe
Yes.
was
Yeah.
enlarged. Yeah, your sampling universe,
Right,
like a statistician would say. And where did you live in Pearl River? On what street?
Ridge Street.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Dale? On
Franklin Avenue, right behind the funeral home.
Very good.
I had the funeral home in front, and I had the cemetery in the back, so that was my playground, as well as the woods where the library is now. Used to be an additional field for the school
Yeah, there was a baseball diamond there, wasn't there?
I don't know that, but pole jumping.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they had one of those pits,
Mm.
and then where the school is was all woods, and that was they had a brook there, and
Yes.
that was fun.
Mm.
You only came home when your mother whistled for you. We had neighborhood kids that we were out all the time, and nobody worried about where's my kids or.
No, I know. It's the same, even though we're slightly different generations, same thing. All the Italian fathers had different whistles. And when you heard that whistle, you stopped.
My mother.
Your mother?
My mother's
Yeah.
family, yeah. They
Yeah.
all had a whistle.
Yeah. And I remember, that's Mr. Di Gregorio. So Nunzio had to go home. I did. But then shortly after, you'd hear my father. And yeah, it was kind of interesting how each kid knew the whistle of his parent or her parent. I think. So what schools did you attend? Obviously, Franklin Avenue.
Yeah, William Street back then, right?
Oh, the William Street
Yeah.
School, right.
And then Central Avenue here, and then we moved up to the high school.
And you went up to the high school,
Yeah.
okay. And then did they have a library in the high school when it first started?
No.
Okay.
The library
Did
was
you
at
do
Ridge
high
Street.
school?
No, she's talking about public library,
The
right?
public library.
Yeah. No, it was Ridge Street.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And the little,
See, they separated it at that time. Okay. Because there was a woman named Perry Park who in 1936 was the librarian on the first floor of the old high school. And then once they built the new school, they separated out the public library and the school. It was interesting.
well, the library on Ridge Street was very small, but it was very advantageous when you were 13 to tell your mom that you had to go to the library because you had to study something. And then we would meet people, right? Meet friends.
Big hangout.
It's like I'm talking about my sisters. It's really eerie.
And Cecile and I have been friends since second grade. So
Okay. So what was Saturday like when you guys would like get up and get together? What did you do? Did you go to the movies? Did you?
No, we would just go in town to
Umlands.
Oh,
hang out
and
there.
just stay there all day.
Stay
And then,
pretty much.
you know, there would be a dance maybe that
Yeah.
night.
Mm-hmm.
Or once we got licenses, we would drive around.
Okay. Yeah.
And we walked a lot. We walked
Yes.
a lot all the time, and we didn't think of it, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody would have a party way over on Manor Boulevard, and we would be walking home, and nobody was worried about us or anything. And
Yeah. That's where you know I'm sorry.
different world.
Yeah, it was. I felt safe. I knew my place in
Yeah.
the world, right? And you never had to worry about anybody bothering you. And today's a different world. What did your parents do?
Well, my father had the barn grill,
Mhm.
Ablondi barn grill on
Oh,
Main
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 Street.
Street, South
Yeah.
Main Street. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah,
that's-
I knew your dad,
Yeah.
Gitch.
My right, Gitch. Yeah, so that's what he did. My mother was a homemaker, and
Mhm.
that was it.
and you would go to the bar for lunch, from
Lunch, yeah.
from
We
William
would
Street
walk from
School.
William Street, I'd walk there for
Right.
lunch because my grandfather used to cook during the day.
Right.
And he would have hot meals for the workers who came in, and we would have lunch, and then we go back to school.
Yes, I saw advertisements that he and your grandmother, they would cook. It was Italian cuisine.
He would have one meal a day. There was no choices, and
Mhm.
whatever it was, that was it. But my grandmother, she was gone. Well, she passed away. when
Oh,
we
she
were
was
kids,
by that
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That time.
But he did all the cooking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. There you go. So that was something I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then
Now-
my father got you when you died.
Oh,
I said,
Oh,
he's the funeral director, so.
right, right. So there you go. That's it. Now your brother is
Yeah.
taking over.
Mhm.
Okay, and I know him very well. And you guys actually have the oldest continually running business since 1919.
Hmm.
And I will tell you that that building was originally the home of George Bronsdorf, and it was on Central Avenue.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Near Dr. Schroeder.
Uh-huh.
And they lifted it in 1919. Joe Fisher had mules and flatbeds, and they brought it down to that spot. And it was Frank Wyman.
Right. Mhm.
He had-
Mock, he was in with Mock,
Yes, he was with
Right.
Buddy Mock,
who was the sheriff.
He was the sheriff and the jailer.
Yep.
That's
Mhm.
right. You know, up in New City, he was funny. He had a funny sense of humor, I'm told. Buddy
Well, the
Mock.
house in back is where I lived, and that used to
Right.
be actually the stable,
Oh,
because I remember my father, when we moved in there, part of the house wasn't finished, and they still had the stable doors there.
oh, the stanchions.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So when you were kids, you attended the public library?
Yes.
Obviously, you've mentioned that. And what was your impression of the library in general, aside from a place to hang around with friends, which is what I did, and I eventually became a librarian here.
my memory of it was just that it was tiny. It was-
Yeah.
I don't.
it
I
was small.
could not wait to
Yes.
get my first library card.
Uh,
To
Excellent.
me, what a rite of passage that was.
Mhm.
And then I would go all through all the Nancy Drews, and there was a nursing thing. And then I exhausted the kids section.
Right.
And if your mom signed your library card, it meant you could go into the adult
That's
section.
exactly right.
wow.
Even in
Yeah.
my
I remember
day.
that.
And using the card catalog and everything.
Yes.
It was great. I loved to read all the time.
Yeah. It's from its inception in 1934, it was an association library, and people paid $1 a year instead of paying 10 cents every month for a magazine, or 75 cents to $1.50 for a book. So now you had a shared burden and you can read all of these books that were coming and being donated. And at that time, the library was on top of the Marine Midland Bank.
Really?
Yeah, the bank had 2 rooms, and they said just pay the
Where,
utilities, and that was it.
Where Jerry's son is.
Noonan's?
Yeah, right?
Absolutely. So, as we've stated, the library was located on Ridge Street, and you said it was small.
Tiny.
Tiny, yeah. I remember seeing it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was very, very small. But when I researched the building, originally it was a friend of Julius Bronsdorf was at the Unique Club in the 1890s, early 1900s. And when that building was built in 1914, he couldn't get, a lane. He would go over and try to get a lane, but there were all kinds of people for bowling. So what he did was to create, there was a bowling alley, 9 pins in there, and he had it for a while.
In the library?
Yeah, before it was a library.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then what happened was he died, and a fellow named Zat Lee had a Chinese laundry there. And in the lanes, he used to hang starched laundry and things like that.
On Ridge Street?
On Ridge Street, yeah.
Really? Never knew that.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Coveys were, do you remember the Coveys?
Sure.
Coveys.
Yeah.
He was the
grandfather. Schmidt.
Oh, Schmidt.
Yeah,
with the bowling.
Right, he invented the
right.
pin setter,
Mhm.
right? That's right. It was one of the Beckerleys and McElroy. The 3 of them got together.
Oh,
and
was the 3 of them?
yeah,
Okay.
and they had the big, but this was 9 pins. This had boys who would wait to
yeah.
return the ball and set up the pins.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the building, though, right? The library building that they had.
In the back.
To me, when I remember
that was
it,
the lane. That was the
that's
lane.
as long as it was a lane of a bowling alley.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. Because 9 pins is played with a smaller ball,
Mm-hmm.
and you throw it and all that. So Fred Schmidt, who was Marion's father,
Yeah.
Covey, he got tired of that, and so did Beckerley, George Beckerley. And they said, "Oh, these kids are driving me crazy. They don't always do what they're supposed to do. They don't show up." And what wound up happening was they invented it. But, it didn't really come into its own 10-pin bowling until the end of World War II. It started, the war slowed it up. But 9-pin bowling alleys were not a nice place to, have your children hang around in.
Oh.
In a lot of cities, there was prostitution and
Not in Pearl River.
not in Pearl River. I don't know what was going on there in Pearl River, but eventually they went to the things. Now, when you guys were at that library, did they have programming?
No,
None.
no, not that I was aware of.
So we've come a long way in
Oh, yeah.
programming since then. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Oh, you're readers?
I am.
Good.
My grandkids live in Pearl River,
Mm-hmm.
and they come to the library, so it's come,
Yeah, you signed the kids up.
That's good.
Yeah, they did the. Well, I mean, today, this summer, he did the reading with the books where they had the summer program.
Oh, summer
Yeah.
reading program,
Mhm.
sure. Yeah, it's good. I mean, there were times when, even when I was a kid, there wasn't much going on here as far as programs. So we were on the railroad tracks playing, or well, we were always
Putting
on the railroad
pennies down on the
Putting-
railroad tracks,
putting pennies down, catching frogs,
or
and tadpoles.
taking the railroad tracks down to Montville, or you could go bowling in Montville. Remember, we would
That's
go
right.
walk down there.
That's right. Well, when they put a Burger King in there, we one time rode the caboose that used to stop and pick up
Oh,
mail.
really?
Yeah, we rode on the back, and when going there was fine, we jumped off. But they got us, the police,
Really?
the conductors must have
Uh-huh.
called it in, and the station agent yelled at us, the police yelled at us, and we got in trouble. It was the last, so we used to walk a lot. It wasn't that far. It really wasn't. It's a thing. So, Cecile, reader, big reader, or little reader?
Little reader.
A little
Yeah.
reader, but
Yeah,
you
with my
read.
grandkids.
Okay.
We come to the programs.
Good.
And
That's good. That's great. That's what it's
Yeah.
here for.
yeah,
So now we're doing a lot more in the in the venue of programming now, and we're right now. It's a perfect time to write down and discuss and record the history of town and people's experiences in it. That
You
type
took
of
the
thing.
chair yoga here, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. yeah.
Your dad was a big reader.
Always
time.
reading.
Yeah, he was always telling me when he would come in with apples.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Remember him?
yeah.
The
Right, my father always
oh
read.
yeah, World War II. He loved World War II books
And his sister. Yeah.
and thing. So as a both of you, as citizens in Pearl River, do you value the library?
Yeah.
Okay. Or do we just want we want to know how people feel?
Yeah.
Could you imagine a town without it?
No.
Good.
Doesn't every town have a library?
Just about, but some don't.
Really?
Oh, you go upstate past Orange County, and there are towns that just don't have it. They'll have a central school that covers 25 square miles. Yeah, so we're really unique in that respect. That we do have a library.
Yeah.
And it's good that, well, I'm in West Nyack. I mean, I live in West Nyack now.
right.
So I have the little West Nyack library, but I think the great thing is if you see a book you want, you just, no matter what library, you can just put in your request online
Exactly.
and they can deliver it from Ellenville in a day. So
That's the power of a consortium.
Mhm.
The interlibrary loan. Yeah, that's really fantastic. And what do you like most about the library? Is it the people, or the books, the
I
programs?
like the programs.
yeah, the
Okay.
programs are good
Programs, Yeah.
Okay.
because it's important that I've brought my grandkids to the story time and the music time, and then she's gone to chair yoga.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
senior opportunities
Oh.
and tweens and teens.
Right.
So I think they cover about everybody, right?
Got a thing in the mail too, listing all the programs.
Yeah, I got that on
Yeah,
email.
our newsletter. You
Yeah.
read it then.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are great. You're great patrons. Anything else you want to tell me about, like aside from the library, any kind of something that happened was sort of historical in town? Maybe a fire, an accident.
Well, we had the 100. Was it the 100 years where we had the parade and everything?
Oh yes, the centennial.
Yeah. I remember that the soapbox derby was fantastic,
Right.
and we used to have bonfires. Do they still have bonfires?
Yeah.
In the
Oh, they do?
center of town.
Right.
So
on the
this was
central-
at the old Excelsior Fire Company.
okay.
Before it was
Oh,
304,
Before 304.
Oh, right.
Yes.
and that's where
That was on Washington Avenue
Right.
and Pearl Street.
Right.
and
Right.
that's where they had the carnival every year,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the little lot next door.
That was called
Fire and
Fisher's
Fire.
Dump.
Was it really?
It
Yeah.
was. It was. Charlie Meyerhoff told me that.
Oh, Charlie
Right,
Meyerhoff.
that name
Yeah.
is familiar.
Yeah, because what happened was in 1907, the trains came down here. They were loaded with gravel and grain, and they crashed down by Keon's.
Oh,
And
We
that
used to go ice skating
skating.
at
Oh,
Keon's.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
We
Right,
did
right
too.
off of Main Street
Yep,
in the
mhm.
back there. Yeah, I fell through the ice over there.
Oh, okay. It was only up to your knees, I bet. Yeah, they're shallow ponds. They were originally put in those ponds because they were small. There was water, there was a spring there, but put in because people during the Depression sent away for carp, and they would raise carp as a protein source
Oh.
in the
mhm.
in the ponds, and that's why the carp were in there, which drew the frogs and
Oh, that was
everything
it.
else. Oh.
Going to Gardner's Pond back here on the end of
Yes.
Grove Street,
Yes.
getting the pollywogs and
Yeah.
then watching them grow, and then their feet came out.
Yes.
I mean, I think we were so lucky to grow up in Pearl River when we did, right? We had,
Yeah.
it was very community oriented.
Oh, sure. Remember
we-